So by the time we're having this part of the conversation, some of the more immediate items like notifying the right people and basic cash flow, those are behind us. And now we're turning toward the longer term steps. These are the things that don't have to happen in the first few weeks, but still matter and are better handled sooner rather than later. And here specifically, we're talking about settling the estate, updating financial accounts and legal documents as well. And I always tell people too, if you haven't already connected with your estate attorney, this is a great point to bring them in. Step one of the first things I walk through is just getting a clear picture of what's on the table. That means either confirming or actually putting together a basic inventory, if you will, a net worth summary that includes a list of what you own and what accounts or assets just exist and are owned by the household. Pulling all of that together into one document gives us a roadmap of sorts. It shows us what needs to be updated, retitled, transferred, and it provides really a checklist to work through. So once we have that inventory list, the next step is actually going through and updating how the assets are titled. So for example, retirement or investment accounts that were owned solely in your spouse's name will need to be transferred according to the beneficiary designations, which is oftentimes to the surviving spouse. If there were joint bank or investment accounts, working with those institutions to have them retitled in your name. And then if you own real estate together, like your home or other properties, we'll want to make sure that the ownership reflects your new status. And that might involve working with the county or the attorney to file an affidavit of survivorship to have that updated correctly. And while we're doing all that, it's also a good time to revisit, the beneficiary designations on the assets titled in your name, making sure they reflect your updated wishes for how those assets should transfer after you pass. And then step 3, at the same time, we're working alongside the attorney to settle the estate. And that's step 3. Sometimes that might mean going through the probate process if needed, which is, as we talked about, it's just the court-supervised way of making sure final wishes are followed for any assets that were not owned jointly or through a trust or did not have beneficiaries designated on the account. Now, for convenience and cost-saving purposes, we would like to avoid probate if we can by having those beneficiaries titled correctly. But it doesn't always happen perfectly, though, and this is where probate comes into play, and that last will is going to be used. Now, if there's a trust in place, the successor trustee can directly handle the distribution of trust property and other assets. Oftentimes, for our clients, the surviving spouse is named as either successor trustee or a co-trustee for their deceased spouse, which allows them to begin handling matters related to any assets that are in the trust or that flow into the trust. And every trust can be different in how it is written and the flexibility and the authority that the successor trustee has, which is just another reason why legal counsel is important to provide guidance through those different decision points. Those copies of the death certificate that we mentioned in the first video are really going to be important during the transfer of all these different accounts. And then finally, and this one often gets overlooked, I feel, we want to turn our attention to your own estate plan because your circumstances have changed. So you'll want to revisit your will or trust, your powers of attorney, maybe even revisit your healthcare directives to make sure all is still appropriate. Now at this stage, it's probably too early to make any large changes to the underlying, call it legacy plan, and implement any new strategies around family or charitable giving. But we at least need to make sure that the account beneficiary titling is in place and that documents are updated that will allow the right people to make decisions on your behalf when needed and ensure that assets will transfer efficiently and avoid probate when you pass. The time to have deeper discussions around the transfer of wealth, the timing of that, who gets what, philanthropic goals, that will come. It will just come with a bit more time once there is more space to think and breathe and discuss and evaluate the considerations around those potential decisions. So just to summarize everything, I like to break all these items up into 4 simpler steps. Create that inventory, that list of assets, update the ownership and beneficiaries of those assets, complete the estate settlement process as needed, and then make the basic updates to your own estate plan. That rhythm or that cadence, I think really will help bring some order and organization to a time that can feel very overwhelming still and take a bit of time.